Some quick fire facts about me is that in my mid-20s, I basically became a junkie. I grew up dyslexic. I grew up poor. I had a very loving family despite a lot of problems. I believe I was abducted by aliens when I was about, 5 in between 7. I lose track of time. I feel things very hard. And like most kids, I had a lot of dreams growing up, but I didn't want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a rapper and a filmmaker at one point, using the camcorder a lot as a kid. I made a bad video about it when I first got started with this channel. Go watch that if you want, if I didn't delete it. I partied a lot and I lived on the edge, but I had very low self-esteem. I don't know if that was from school. I could speculate on a whole bunch of different reasons why this was the case. I think it's true with a lot of people that came up in my generation and went to school, and every generation that went to school, they kind of just sucked the life out of you. But I'll tell you one thing, I always lived life the way that I wanted to, more or less. Especially in like my early 20s, I would take off to California. I lived in Tahoe. I snowboarded in Colorado. I lived in like commune-like scenarios. I lived in a van, did the whole van life thing before that was even popular. And I had a lot of fun with all the partying, but eventually the partying caught up with depression and other probably social anxiety and other reasons. I didn't want to deal with my feelings. Whatever the case, it caught up to me, became a junkie, and my life became extremely bad. I was very, very depressed. I wouldn't call myself suicidal, but I was not really caring what happened to me. Let me put it that way. From living in the woods, being completely homeless, to living in a barn with actually a really good friend that's still out there, and thank God he was with me because I love the dude. I've lost many friends from overdoses and car crashes to the point where I'm actually kind of scared just to drive to the store a lot of the time. So cars are not my highest priority. I spend all my money on camera gear and computers to edit my videos. So all in all, there was a lot of good times, but those good times turned to bad. I've never wanted to live my life in the stereotypical way. I never really wanted kids, not saying I would never have one if I found the right woman, but I never really prioritized that, especially the way the world is now. Not saying it's that bad. Our reality is what we make of it. Now, there's a lot more to it, and I got a lot of stories I could tell. Some are fun, and some are extremely sad. But eventually, I did change my clothes. I mean, my life, according to this story. I sat there one night, completely out of luck, out of money. I still worked, but I had so many pick marks on me, I was embarrassed to go, and I was slowly losing my last few jobs, as well as a landscaper and construction guy. For whatever reason, I ended up calling my mother and telling her that I had the flu, convincing myself that actually that was true. Like, I knew I was sick in another way. I also felt like I was so sick. I'd never been that sick before, that I had some kind of weird rare disease, right? And I went there and I was sick for 3 days, vomiting so hard that I felt like I was gonna break my ribs. I actually thought I had broken my ribs at one point, until one morning I came in and mom offered me breakfast and said, either eat this or we're going to the hospital. And I said, we're going to the hospital. And she was like, really? Went to the hospital, and somewhere in my subconscious I knew that that was the beginning of getting better. I got into detox that night. I got through that, but they didn't have a bed for me in a rehab center, especially one that my state insurance would cover. So I had to come back, and eventually a bed opened up in one of the best rehabs that take state insurance, and I got in there and I went there, and I was so lucky to be there. I've heard of the other rehabs in the area are just basically awful at that price point, and this place was definitely run down. It had bad food, or mediocre food. Some people liked it. It was junk food. The best night was like, nachos with cheese, and it was like that fake cheese stuff. But the counselors were amazing, and my counselor in particular was amazing. And I was, there was like 60% people there were court ordered, and there was like another like 40% there that were on their own accord, and of course I was on my own accord, and I had just had enough. And I remember getting dropped off at the bus stop afterwards, being clean for 35 days or whatever it was. There was a homeless man there offering you whatever you wanted right at the bus stop, asking, hey, did you just get out? Like, he could tell on my face I was like, no. It was easy to say no to him. But then I walked inside and they sold liquor there. They sold liquor at the bus stop where they drop you off after treatment. It's pretty crazy. And I thought about it hard, but then I thought, you know what, I can wait. And That's kind of like the number one tool that kept me together in the early days, and even now, right? And I can bring it into other aspects of my life, is one moment at a time, one day at a time. All the other stuff is, whatever. But that's like number one, because once you push through long enough with one moment at a time, one day at a time, your brain rewires and it becomes like way easier. And over time, things did get a lot easier. I don't even think about it. It's manifested in other ways. I got addicted to World of Warcraft and other MMOs like Final Fantasy 14 there for a while. I got kind of chubby for a while. Eventually, like, I found my passions. I was really into filmmaking when I was a kid, and I eventually went back into that, and that's what I'm doing now on this channel. And one thing this video I am trying not to have is, it is not a depressing thing. A matter of fact, it is an amazing thing, because I've experienced a part of life a lot of people don't, and the people that do don't usually come out of it. And I want to say that my life is tremendously better now. I know what I want in life now. I know who I am in life. It's been a lot of work, and it's been a lot of emotions in different directions. Overall, I am way happier. The problems that I have now sometimes feel really large, but compared to the way my life was, it's nothing in compared to that. It's weird how the brain can adapt in different ways, and I can think of my problems nowadays as these tremendous problems, but my old problems were potential life and death and serious depression. I've learned to live mostly happy. Am I exactly where I want to be in life? No. I wish I had more money. I'm trying to make a living off of making videos and taking pictures and doing online things. I don't want to be a construction worker my whole life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I have found my passion in cameras and video editing, amongst other creative endeavors, and that's more than a lot of people have. And I found that when I was very young, and then didn't pursue it for a very long time. I've always been very artistic. I wrote raps and I drew. I'm not very good at drawing, but I drew, and now I'm making films again, like I did with the big camcorder when I was a kid. And the energy in life is so much better, and I've found who I truly am. I had to go back to a place where I was when I was a little kid and remember who I was and what was important to me then. Am I a completely different person? No. Have I changed my mind about a great many things? Yes.